Ladies and gentlemen, John Doerr.
Good morning and welcome. You remember 15 years ago in 1994, there was no internet. That's to say there was no browser, there was no point and click. 15 years ago in 1994, Steve Jobs had left Apple. He was making Toy Story and object-oriented software for the next. That very year, Bill Joy grabbed me and showed me Mosaic, the first web browser, and it was magic. Bill said, "John, I have no idea where this thing is going, but you just better jump in." The rest of the 90s were a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Entrepreneurs created the web and really great web ventures. Netscape, Amazon, eBay, Google, and others. And they changed our lives. Silicon Valley became kind of a Florence of the new networked economy. Well, I'm here today to tell you it feels like deja vu all over again. Twice in a lifetime. So the internet changed the lives of some of us, the billion of us who have desks and electricity. But at the same time, a tsunami of cell phones changed more of us, sweeping over more than 3 billion people around the world. This is Lapata, a Samburu warrior. His cell phone is his lifeline. It keeps him in touch with his family in Nairobi. It's his debit card and his bank. Did you know there are 75 times more cell phones than PCs in Kenya? Only 4 million Kenyans have electricity, but 16 million have cell phones. And that will double to 32 million in the next 4 years. We're here today to share with you a vision, not a prediction, but a vision. That vision is a world where Lapata and everyone has the internet in their cell phone in their pocket. Now, it's no surprise that this vision began 2 years ago in the Valley, when Steve Jobs rocked the world with the miracle of the internet, plus the cell phone, the iPhone. Steve has an uncanny ability, as Newsweek said this week, to cook up gadgets we didn't know we needed, but suddenly can't live without. Steve showed us what computer legend Alan Kay told us. The best way to predict the future is to invent it. I repeat, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. But at Kleiner Perkins, we say, if you can't invent the future, the next best thing is to fund it. So 2 years ago this month, Apple and Kleiner Perkins announced an unprecedented collaboration, the $100 million iFund, the best venture fund for mobile entrepreneurs. Now think back a couple of years ago to March of 2008. This was pretty risky. There were a lot of skeptics. There was no 3G iPhone, no apps, and no app store, and no iFund. Today, the iFund is 14 ventures, 3 are stealth, and we're incredibly proud to be backing all of them. In fact, 8 of them are here to meet you today. iFund Ventures have now had over 100 million downloads, and we expect more than $100 million of revenue this year. We've already committed $100 million and raised another $330 million from others for them. That's almost $500 million. That's the good news. It's truly good news. But the bad news is that at the worst possible time, on the eve of the iPad, the iFund is out of money. And friends, the first rule of venture capital is, to quote my friend Coach Campbell, off the record please, the first rule is, you gotta have the fucking money. Back on the record, the way I'd put it is it's hard to be a VC if you haven't got the friggin' money. So we're announcing today that we're doubling down on the iFund. We are increasing its size to $200 million. And here's why. The original PCs in the early 80s were pretty crummy until 1984, when Apple introduced the mouse and the Mac. Back then, Alan Kay, inventor of the Dynabook tablet, said, the Mac is the first PC worth criticizing. Fast forward to 2007, when Steve introduced the first iPhone, Alan Kay said to him, Steve, make the screen 5 inches by 8 inches and you will rule the world. Rule the world. Friends, this Saturday, the iPad arrives, and we believe it will rule the world. I've touched it, held it, and caressed it. Saturday night, I hope to sleep with it in my arms. It feels gorgeous. It feels like touching the future. But it is not a big iPod. It is a very big deal. Why? Because this week, the world changes. We're going to go from the old world of traditional tired Windows interfaces to the wonderful new world of touch. We'll go from the old world of point and click to the new swoosh of fluidity. Instead of an old artificial indirect interface, the iPad is direct and natural. Instead of WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get, it's WittyWhiz. What you touch is what is. Instead of holding a mouse, you're literally holding magic. This Saturday is the beginning of that new world, the post-PC era. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce to you a senior executive from Apple, Ron Akimoto. Ron is in charge of the iPhone and iPad developer community. In other words, he's in charge of third-party magic. Ron has a few words to share with us. Ron.
Thanks, John. So 2 years ago, when John announced the iFund, we like saying, some people were saying he went out on a limb, but I think the evidence shows that that limb was actually connected to a gigantic oak tree. This thing has been big. And we've experienced so much success with the iFund and so much success working with Kleiner that we're so happy of what they've announced today, doubling down, going after the iPad because we agree with them. This thing's going to be big. You know, kind of to recap, you know, in those 2 short years, here's what we've done. We've had 100,000 developers working on iPhone and iPod Touch apps. They've created 150,000 applications that have been downloaded 3 billion times. And you know, some of us get numb to the numbers, but you say that's in 24 months. So with the iPad coming on board, God only knows what's going to happen next, but I think it's going to be pretty big, safe to say. You know, and the beauty of this is, not only has it been great for developers that are currently in the business, but it's been great for people who wanted to become developers, people who have ideas and who have inspirations. And that's what the great role that Kleiner's been able to play with us. And so, for example, the guys that we have here, companies like Goji, Pinger, Shazam, Booyah, and Gmoko. I think, by the way, just one of the things, you got to have a cool name to get funded by Kleiner. I think that goes without saying. But anyway, these guys have been some of the best developers. They've created fantastic apps. And John showed you the statistics of what they've been doing. So again, it's been super successful for what we've done to date. And we can only wait to see what we're going to have, what's going to happen next with the iPad. And I can tell you, kind of like, you know, riffing a little bit on what John's been telling you, we're in the fortunate position in developer relations being able to see sneak peeks of what developers are doing. And I got to tell you, the stuff they're working on is fantastic. It is beautiful, it is interactive, and it is engaging. And in a few short days, you're going to get to experience it too. And I really look forward to seeing you guys do that. And then the last thing is, as we start moving forward on this iPad journey, our encouragement is to all developers out there, not to just go ahead and let your best ideas come forward, but talk to the guys at Kleiner. They're great partners, and they're people who can really help you launch a great business, something bigger than you might even imagine. So with that, I just wanted to thank you guys. I wanted to thank our friends at Kleiner. I want to thank our developers, and I can't wait to see what you guys get to see this coming Saturday. Thank you.
Oh, and just one more thing. The future. Remember, Saturday is just the beginning. Truly, it is just the beginning. Twice in the last 15 years, we've witnessed hundreds of 100,000 flowers blooming. Flowers of applications for the web and then for the iPhone. Because both were paradigm shifts in how we interact. Well, interacting fluidly on full and fast screens with vast information stored locally is a third great paradigm, and it will start a third renaissance of software. It's time to move beyond spreadsheets and word processors, beyond websites limited by browsers, to an interactive, connected kind of application with incredible speed and fluidity, to a future that transforms games and entertainment, education and publishing, healthcare, communications and commerce, and almost everything else. The tablet, the iPad, is where these new dreams are going to blossom and where the revolution is happening. Bill Joy says the key to more performance is lower power. Over the next decade, he sees 3 times better batteries, and 10 times lower power chips. So we should be able to run for the same price 30 times as much application. And as for storage, there's no reason why that can't be 30x also. Or about a terabyte of local, fast, solid-state storage. A terabyte is several hundred movies. What's important is that these new tablets won't be just reactive, responding to commands. They're also going to be proactive. They will be much more than personal computers. I like to say they'll be interpersonal surface and services, working seamlessly, unobtrusively, and comfortably in the spaces between us, between you and me and the others. So let's go back from the future to now, to this Saturday. I like to define entrepreneurs this way. Entrepreneurs do more than anyone thinks possible with less than anyone thinks possible. And I'm always awed by entrepreneurs. They surprise us with the improbable because they don't know what's impossible. So, to Steve and the entrepreneurs at Apple, congratulations. Now, let's talk to some of the entrepreneurs from the iFund. For the first time, they will introduce over a dozen apps for the iPad. And it's my pleasure to introduce our moderator, the co-founder of Electronic Arts, one of my best friends, my partner, and KPCB's Poet Laureate, Bing Gordon.